It's time for the Drugless Doctor. Call a friend or family member now and let them benefit from today's exciting and life-changing program. If you want to lead a healthier life, the time is now.
Hello, this is Dr. Bob, Anthony, and Casen DeMaria with another Half Off Health for you. And today we thought we would talk about digestion. You know, you live and die in that digestive tract, but what you might not realize, digestion starts in your head. So what do you mean in your head, Dr. Bob? What does that have to do with my gut? Well, just eating, I'm going to give you a principle now. You don't ever want to eat when you're upset, because there's polypeptides, there's positives and negatives. And you know, if you're going to be eating and you're under distress, you're wasting calories. So I'm going to encourage you. You really don't want to be watching TV when you eat. You should be in a quiet place having some very gentle conversation with someone. You don't want to be looking at your phone and texting people. So, you know, the whole digestive process starts in your head, and we have so many different areas that we could talk about. It's not even just about the food. It's how you prepare the food, the quality of the food, how old the food is. And when I was doing my Doctor of Natural Health studies, one of the doctors I read a book on said, you know, you don't get as much energy from leftover food that you do from the original food. And I could go on with a physiology that food has certain electrical values called angstrom units. And when it goes into your liver raises the electrical potential of your body. There's so much about physiology that we don't realize. It's just basic, simple principles, which we're going to share with you today. It's very exciting. And I know if you make appropriate, necessary dietary choices, your overall health will improve. And a great example, if you have good health or not when it comes to digestion, you do not want to have a very smelly stool. That means you don't want your poop to smell really bad, and you don't want bad breath. Because if you have bad breath, we know you have digestive distress. We could go on with it, but I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Anthony and Dr. Casen.
So if you'd like to follow along with us, we'd encourage you to go to our website, which is www.drugless.com. If you were to click on the blog, we will be posting our outline here for this segment so you can have some of the great information that we're talking about. So what digestion really is the breakdown of the products that we're putting into our mouth that our body will break down, and we are able to use those nutrients to help regenerate our body like it's supposed to. So if there's any issues along that entire process, whether it's in our mouth, in our stomach, in our intestines, there could be a resulting issue that comes out. So what's really interesting is that 70% of our nervous system and our immune system actually lives in our gut and our digestive tract. And that's really an important fact, because it's our contact with the outside world. When you really think about it, besides our skin and everything externally, it's the only thing that's coming in contact with the outside world. So having good digestive function will really set you apart of having good long-term health. So it's really, really, really important that you listen to some of the things that we're going to be talking about this evening and start to incorporate some of these simple, easy tips so that you can have good and great and better digestion than you've ever had before, and it'll positively impact your nervous system and your immune system.
Our digestion is so important. A lot of people don't realize that having a regular bowel movement, so that means at least 2 bowel movements a day, that's really important. When people come into our practice, some of the questions we ask them, we say, "Are you pooping every day?" And they look at us like, "Why are you asking me that? That's strange." That's really important, because if you're not, those toxins are building up in your tissues and your cells, and your nervous system is 80% in that gut lining. And I know that especially with women coming into the practice, this is one of the common things that we see with digestive distress is constipation. Other signals in your body, you might feel bloating, gas, even reflux. You could be even diagnosed previously with irritable bowel syndrome, GERD, acid reflux. All of these things are common things of digestion. Other things that you might not realize that have to do with your digestion are a lack of, you don't really crave meat at all, or you could go without eating meat. You don't really have that sensation to eat meat. That could be an indication that you may need some extra digestive enzymes in your body. And also feeling like you're full or not having a lack of appetite. All these things have to do directly with your digestion and with the elimination of the colon function.
You know, we could probably talk to you about 4 hours as Dr. Casen is having this conversation, and I have a prop here for you. This happens to be copper. And what we see in our practice, now listen, I'm going to word this to you, okay, because we're tap dancing around the different areas, because some of you say, well, I don't choose to eat meat. Well, you may not want meat because you don't have enough digestive enzymes. Well, I also know if you consume wheat products, wheat and soy deplete the body of zinc. If you don't have enough zinc, you're going to have high copper. People who have high copper have thick, pasty bile. That means when they eat fatty foods, they could feel bloated, just like what Dr. Casen said. But listen, 2 or 3 hours after they eat is a body signal to me that they may have liver gallbladder distress. And I heard Dr. Anthony say to someone in a practice this week, you could have right shoulder pain, and you could even have right knee pain. Isn't this so silly? It's not silly. We're so blessed to have learned all this. You can have right knee pain because your gallbladder is not functioning. But if you listen to what I just said, that ho-ho, that white bread, that burrito, that quesadilla, over time, taking zinc out of your body, high copper, thick pasty bile, gallbladder distress, right shoulder pain, and then if they take your gallbladder out, it's almost literally a kiss of death, because your gallbladder is your bottle of soap in your body that helps emulsify fat. And what we have learned, if you don't have a gallbladder, you have a greater chance to have a heart attack. And you know, Dr. Anthony and Casen, we could go on for hours just with that one item alone. So those of you who are watching in our practice right now, you're going to go online and want to watch this. For those of you who are watching it right now in Northern Ohio, you're going to go online and want to watch this again, because we have a lot of good information. And I happen to have written a book called Dr. Bob's Drugless Guide to Detoxification. It'll make a huge difference in your life.
You know, it's interesting, too, as far as digestion. I know that Dr. Casen was talking about some of the things that could be going on with your digestion. We commonly find that if somebody has an autoimmune condition or an inflammatory arthritis or a rheumatoid condition, that all of those issues start with your gut. Oftentimes, it's something called leaky gut syndrome. One of the things that's interesting, when you think leaky gut syndrome, it just sounds like a weird term, but what leaky gut really is it is undigested food particles that are getting into your body system, in your bloodstream, and your body's reacting to that, and it's causing autoimmune reactions in your body. And what that means is your body's literally attacking itself because of those undigested food particles getting through. So what's really important, some of these simple strategies that we're going to be talking with you as far as digestion, because they'll make huge overall impact when it comes to your feeding style. So the first thing that we want to talk to you about is to slow down and chew your food when you're eating. I know Dr. Bob mentioned at the beginning of the program to have a quiet environment. You want to have a quiet environment. You don't want to be upset when you're eating. And you also want to chew it and go slow. Why that's important? The movement of chewing starts to release enzymes in our stomach in order to help our stomach break down food. Also, when certain items touch our mouth, our saliva has enzymes in there that start to break down food. So digestion starts as soon as that food particle hits your mouth. So it's so very important that you work at slowing down the food process. I know many of you are having fast food or you're taking food on the go, but it's so important. If you want something simple to help you, I know that each and every single one of you can slow down more and chew your food at a slower rate. And I know that this will be really important for you. So we have a lot of other really great tips as far as digestion, and you're going to have to stay tuned for those.
Hello, this is Dr. Bob, Dr. Anthony, and Dr. Casen DeMaria with another half hour of health continuation for each and every one of you. And we've been talking about digestion. What's so unique about our practice is that we have the ability to refer our patients to a lab to have an assessment for blood tests. And we look at the blood tests on a functional level. Yes, we look at it pathologically to see if you have a disease process, but when we look at these markers, it tells us a lot. And one of the areas that I would like you to write down is called your globulin level. You might not have the globulin level on your chem profile. You may have total protein and albumin. If you subtract the albumin from the protein, you're going to get your globulin level. I would like to see it, we would like to see it be at 2.7. If it's above 2.7, I know you have your hand in the cookie jar, and your gut tends to be alkaline. You're not absorbing the globulin, and the globulin is an important marker for us because it's a part of your immune system. It helps make antibodies. On the other hand, if your globulin level is below 2.7, in the area of 2 or 2.1, you're not eating enough protein. And we find that so many people today don't eat enough protein, especially ladies. They don't want to get real big and muscular. There's another blood serum test that we look for in our practice, and that happens to be your carbon dioxide level, or your CO2. Dr. Anthony alluded to in the very first segment about a leaky gut syndrome. And the leaky gut is like having a sieve in your intestines. Well, when I look at a CO2 level on a blood test, and if I see it down in the lower 20s, I know that you have digestive distress and inflammation, and we happen to use a couple different products. One of them happens to be L-glutamine, and the other one happens to be IPS. Dr. Anthony also alluded to the fact of autoimmune problems and rheumatoid arthritis. I want you to know this. Most arthritis problems is a gut or a liver problem, and we've helped people who have suffered with gout and pseudo-gout and arthritis for over 30 years have it turn around just by answering these few key questions. Fascinating, isn't it?
It's awesome. The next thing is drinking more water. This is one of the things everyone can start doing today. Half of your body weight in ounces, that's how much water you want to be consuming on a daily basis. Our bodies are 80 to 85% water, and dehydration can cause several different health challenges, especially with digestion. When you're drinking your water, something you could add to the water is Celtic sea salt. You could be putting a quarter teaspoon to even a teaspoon in your water throughout the day so that you're getting these minerals in your body. You don't want to be drinking cold water because that will stagnate digestion. And also when you're eating and you're chewing and you're slowing down, you want to make sure that you're not consuming beverages, water when you're eating. That's also going to change your enzymes and the pH in your body. Something that we have in our practice is we can actually see what your saliva pH is in your body. So we can see if you're acidic or alkaline, and from this we can determine to see if you may need those extra enzymes in your body. Another tool that we have in our practice, and just looking through the blood work and other things, we look at your blood. We could possibly look at your blood underneath a microscope. And the amazing thing about these slides are we're looking directly into the colon to see how your colon is functioning. And from that gives us a lot of insight on how your overall health is and your digestion is. Only 10% of our body can feel pain. So you might be having digestive distress and not even realize it or know about it.
So we use herbs in our practice too. There's a variety of herbs, and we have a variety of products that we'll be talking to you about. But I can tell you that myself personally, I take dandelion root, 5 drops every day. Dandelion root, dandelion leaf is very important for liver and kidney function. And I want you to know another herb that we use on a regular basis happens to be peppermint leaf. Peppermint leaf helps support optimal gallbladder function. See, your gallbladder is really significant because it releases the bile. And bile is the emulsifier that just allows your whole body to just function at a very optimal level. And there's other products that we use in our practice that I could talk to you about for hours. But we mentioned dandelion root, we mentioned peppermint leaf, but we use a product called Livitrit Plus. And Livitrit Plus happens to be an Avoretic proprietary formula that has herbs in it that supports function of your body. And your liver is a very key organ for optimal digestion and function.
You know, it's really important, Dr. Bob, too, is to add fresh herbs to your diet, too, whether that's parsley or basil or dill, because those fresh herbs help with digestion. I know that we've talked in past segments why herbs are so important is the oil that's actually from the herb that helps with the digestive process. So if you could do something simple is to make sure that you plant yourself an herb garden or buy herbs and incorporate them into salads and cooking, because it'll be really important. And another good tip when it comes to herbs is make sure you add them at the end. If you do it in the cooking process, it takes away the nutritional value. So if you add herbs to garnish your dish and consume them, it'll make a huge difference for you. So one of the areas that I want to encourage you to do as far as your digestion is to reduce and eliminate processed foods and carbohydrates in the form of grains. You know, we've been talking a lot about inflammation and inflammatory arthritis and leaky gut syndrome. One of the simple things to help get your gut back onto the proper track is to eliminate those things. So on a regular basis, I'm having conversations with people, and they'll say, you know what? Well, I went gluten-free, and we'll talk about gluten here in a minute. And I'll say, you know, going gluten-free is a better option, but a lot of times it's better to just eliminate grain and grain-like products, even if they are gluten-free, in order to promote good, healthy digestion. So what I mean by gluten is a protein that is found in rye, wheat, oat, and barley. So what ends up happening is when you're consuming things with rye, wheat, oat, and barley, whether it's bagel, pasta, waffle, pancake, what'll end up happening is that will glue your villi that are in your small intestine together so they aren't moving like they're supposed to, and your body's not absorbing nutrients like it should be. So grains are really important to work on reducing and eliminating any type of grains, because it'll affect our digestion. And digestive health, as we've been talking to you, is so very, very important. So if there was any other thing that you could do besides some of the simple tips that we've been talking about, is focus on reducing those grains. I know that it'll make such a big difference for you. So just work on adding those few simple processes.
When you're decreasing the grains in your life, you want to also be aware of sugar. And so many practice members in our office, they say, I don't eat sugar, I don't eat bread, but where am I getting these other things? Even gluten-free foods, the gluten-free section in the grocery aisle, you want to look at those ingredients because they could have sugar in them. Canola, soy, corn, all of these things are going to cause inflammation in your body and cause stress, and even it's going to slow the healing process. So when you're working on transitioning from the breads, things that you want to make sure you're increasing are the green foods, green fresh vegetables. So the kale, Swiss chard, spinach, all these things are going to help with minerals in your body and to help with optimal healing and function.
You know, it's so amazing when I just listen to all this conversation. I'll leave it one thought before we take a short break. Dairy can create distress. We don't have the enzymes in our body to really support optimal dairy function, but going through a whole nother layer of it, if you're consuming too much dairy, it impedes your lymphatic system. So your digestive system empties into your lymphatic system, and your lymphatic system is a huge part of your immune system. So now you can see this big old weave that's on in your body, and it has everything to do with digestion. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Hello, this is Dr. Bob, Anthony, and Casen DeMaria with another half-hour health continuation for each and every one of you. There is so much we could talk about. We'll have to come back and revisit this particular topic. It's about digestion. What I'm holding in my hand right now, obviously it's the spine, but I want to just give you a little physiology. There's a very large nerve that comes from your brain that goes down the front of your spine called the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve helps involve digestive systems in your body. So we know chiropractically, if you have misalignment or subluxation in your spine because of poor posture, it can impact your digestion. So can these vertebrae right here in your mid-back. If you're sitting all day and you have compression, because see, gravity never takes a vacation, it could affect the vertebrae that go to your stomach. A large one, though, happens to be this lower thoracic upper lumbar area. It's called L1. It goes to your colon. So it's very possible you could come into our practice, not even tell us that you're constipated, give you an adjustment. You can come back smiling and happy and joyful because you're pooping. Hallelujah. So that's why, as chiropractors, we get so much improvement. So we have tools in our practice also. We have an acoustic cardiogram. It's an electronic stethoscope. It allows us to listen to the valves closing in your heart. And see, those heart muscles control the contracting or the lub-dub. We know that if you don't have enough B vitamins, your heart valves are not going to close properly. I also know B vitamins are important to make digestive enzymes, which we're going to talk about in a moment. So now you can see how we have this big old weave of everything interrelated with each other, but there's something in my studies when I was taking courses for my Doctor of Natural Health degree called ALMA. ALMA happens to be an Indian or an Ayurvedic term for poor energy. If you have a thick, pasty tongue, when you woke up this morning and your tongue was sticking to the roof of your mouth and you're brushing your tongue, and the next morning you wake up and it's sticking to the roof of your mouth again, it's because you are very toxic. If you have a lot of skin lesions, if you have acne, if somebody comes into our practice, we see a history of scarring on their face, we know that they've had liver distress. I would encourage you to get Dr. Bob's Drugless Guide to Detoxification. Go online, watch some of these videos that we have for you. It'll make a huge difference in your life, I promise.
So just to review some of the simple tips that we talked about, because I know that they'll make a huge difference for each and every one of you. One of the first things we mentioned was to slow down and chew your food. So remember to do this, and also make sure that you're in an environment that's not bombarded by technology and you're not upset when you're eating. Another simple thing we talked about was to make sure you're drinking half your body weight in ounces of water every single day. And I'm going to add this thought to you. If you're having a hard time eliminating, do something like add ground up flax in water and drink that in the morning and at nighttime. So that ground flax seed will help your colon get rid of any excess baggage that's taking place in there, and it'll allow your body to absorb water like it's supposed to. There's a couple other things that you can do if you're having a hard time eliminating. We have a wonderful product by Gaia Herbs called Natural Laxative. Then there's another thing called MGzyme, which is magnesium, which helps our body eliminate as well. So eliminating is really important. I know that Dr. Bob also mentioned to be adding herbs to your diet on a regular basis, whether it's liquid herbs from Gaia Herb that help promote digestion or fresh herbs in your cooking process is really important because those are going to help to promote good digestive function. I know that I mentioned to you to reduce and eliminate grains and carbohydrates, and that's so very important because that helps our gut have less inflammation and allows our body to start being able to assimilate some of the nutrients that we're going to be using when we're going through the digestive process. And I know that Dr. Casen had mentioned adding greens to your daily regime is really important, whether it's kale, Swiss chard, broccoli. What ends up happening is that creates something that's a silly term called roughage, and that roughage helps to scrape the walls of your colon so that you're getting excess out. So it's just some of those simple and easy steps will really, really make a huge difference as far as your digestion, because digestion, like we've been mentioning, is so very important. It helps get rid of a ton of different conditions that could be going on inside your body. So just by taking these simple steps, you'll make a huge difference. Now, if someone were getting you to the next level and you want to do some things, why don't you ask us about doing something like a blood test in order to look at your digestion, or consider doing something like the acoustic cardiogram that can help point us in the right direction as far as anything that your body could be lacking as far as any nutrients. So I know that we use a lot of good digestive